How do we know when somebody is a fan of something? Maybe they have a hat or a jersey, or you hear people talk about the thing that they like a lot or that they're a fan of. When we actually like something or someone, we want to show others. So I guess the question for today is, how do people know if you're a follower of Jesus? Well, a few weeks ago, I think we had a clue into this from John 13, and it says, "Love each other just as I have loved you." You should love each other. Your love for one another will prove to the world that you are my disciples. So people know we're followers of Christ by the way that we love those around us. Being a fan of something is not the same as following someone. It can be difficult to know what following Jesus as a teenager is like. But how does following Jesus change more than just the clothes that we wear, the music we listen to, or where we spend our time? How does following Jesus actually change who we are? Well, we've been talking about this epic comeback story of Jesus through his life, death, and resurrection. And when it comes to learning what it looks like to follow Jesus, we can actually take a cue from a conversation that he had with his disciples right before his death. And this is what he said. "If any of you wants to be my follower, you must give up your own way, take up your cross, and follow me." So I guess being a disciple of Jesus means being someone who is willing to put aside our own way and to choose his way. Jesus didn't just talk about putting aside our own way, he demonstrated it for us. Earlier in this series, we discussed about how Jesus washed the disciples' feet. And it was one of the last things that he did before he went to the cross, was humble himself and serve his disciples. It's a trip that before the cross, Jesus laid down his life. And then Jesus said this after washing their feet. "And since I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you ought to wash each other's feet. I have given you an example to follow. Do as I have done to you." So the events that followed this statement probably made it stand out in the disciples' minds. For them, Jesus washing their feet was a big deal, but it really wasn't as big of a deal as what Jesus was about to do. At the cross, Jesus laid down his actual life. He gave it away. He gave up his life for us. And because of that, we can be confident that God loves us and even likes us. 3 days later, Jesus did what no one has ever done before. He came back to life, defeating sin and death. That resurrection changed everything, not just for the people then, but for the people in the past and in the future. This was the way of Jesus, and this is the way of carrying your cross. This is what it means to follow Jesus. When we lay down our own way, we are doing what Jesus did. Living for Jesus means living like Jesus. We can get another clue of what this looks like by looking at the early church. All the believers devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and to fellowship and to sharing in meals and to prayer. It had a deep sense of awe, and it came over all of them, and the apostles performed many miraculous signs and wonders. And all the believers met together in one place and shared everything they had. They sold their property and possessions and shared the money with those in need. The early church laid down their lives for each other. That's actually one of the reasons why Christianity grew so quickly. They lived the way of the cross, and that's why the movement took off. They worshiped together at the temple each day. They met in homes for the Lord's Supper. They shared their meals with great joy and generosity, all while praising God and enjoying the goodwill of all the people. And each day the Lord added to their fellowship those who were being saved. These people weren't laying down their lives because they felt like they had to. Their lives have been made new by Jesus, and now they followed his example and showed everyone what it looked like to live like him. And because living for Jesus means living like Jesus, we know that this is about giving up our own way and following him. But how do we do this in real life? Well, I think 2 ways that will help us is to give up our own way by practicing empathy for others and serving them. And another way is following Jesus and getting to know Jesus. And I feel that this can happen by the way that we study in his word and we surround ourselves with like-minded Christians or followers of Christ. We're invited into this great story, the story of Jesus and his work in the world. He laid it all down and then told us to do the same. That's what we can do with each other. in this church, in this community around us. Over the last 2,000 years, people following the example of Jesus in their everyday lives have had a huge impact. So remember, living for Jesus means living like him. Have a great week. Happy Easter, everyone.